Hello, Dijon here. In the comics portion of episode 133 of the Mustercast, we go over what books we've been reading lately, discuss why comics get cancelled, and review chapters 3 and 4 of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Please enjoy. So, moving on to comics. What have you been reading lately, Aiara?
Actually have a really big one, as previously discussed, because I went and saw the Demon Slayer movie. I actually started the Demon Slayer manga, and finally have a fair bit of context for all the stuff that I saw in the movie. Because like I said, my the amount, like, the experience I have with Demon Slayer is like watching the first 2, 3 episodes, and that's it, and then the movie, Infinity Castle. So going back and actually like reading the manga, because I'm more of a manga person than like an anime watcher, I fear. But it's been really nice. It's really fun. The pacing's really good. I like the characters. I think it's funny that every single demon gets like a tragic backstory. Because like it kind of kills the pacing at times, but on the same token, it's just like so fascinating to see their motivations that I don't really mind it all that much. So there's that. I've kind of put Claymore and Hellsing on hold so I can like catch up slash finish Demon Slayer because I've been like really into it. And that's pretty much it. That's my big thing.
How about you, Brie?
I haven't read anything as of late, but I do plan on reading Corey Kenshin's Monsters We Make. I saw that he released a trailer for like his next volume that's coming out or is out, I forget. And it was so well edited that it made me want to read it.
Yeah,
But
that,
I
that
have
manga
no
does look
clue what
interesting.
it's about. Have you read it?
No.
Oh man, I'm thinking about buying it and seeing.
Let me know what you think when you get it.
Surely will.
So for me, I finished The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and the end of that book was it was sad. So there was a chapter where, how do I say this without spoiling things? A lot of people. There was a genocide. There was just straight up genocide, and the writer went
Oof.
into excruciating detail describing it. It was disgusting and horrible, and just made me think of the horrible things happening in real life in Palestine and Congo and across various other places on the planet, and things that happened in the past. And I was just like, man, this sucks. But also, it's things like this and moments like this in stories that kind of reinforces you know just how important art can be in helping people understand just various different things in general, like not just the horrors and reality of war and genocide, and helping people kind of just like, oh, now I have a better context of that, and it kind of reinforces my support of Palestine and Congo. But also, there are a lot of different things that art can reinforce in your mind and teach you about, and just how kind of sometimes trivial art can feel in the face of real life horror, but to an extent, like art, like even in hard times, like is a thing that should exist, especially when it can help, give understanding as well as spread a message about horrible things that are going on. And yeah,
Mhm.
it was a tough read. I read it at night. I always read at night. So it was I had to. That was the day before Hades came out. I thought Hades was gonna come out at midnight, but it came out at noon the next day. So I was hoping I would play some Hades 2 to take the edge off, but nope. I had to go to sleep with that on my mind.
with that,
It
oh
was
my
unfortunate.
goodness.
How long was that read?
I don't know. I just know towards the end I was reading a chapter or two every night. Um,
Okay.
which I don't always do that. I tend to read like half a chapter every night. But like, yeah, towards the end it just got really good. It was good the whole time, but it got real good towards the end. It got very intriguing. And yeah, it was just sad. But outside of the popular, which I purchased that second issue, or not issue, this is a comic book. The second just book in that trilogy, so I'm excited to start reading that probably tonight. In terms of comics, earlier today I read uh, issue number 20 of Ultimate Spider-Man. Still chipping away at that fat stack of comics I had. I still have some comics to read. I've been kind of sleeping on that. I need to finish those up. I'm gonna try to do that this week, especially since I have to go pick up some more this weekend. Not nearly as much as I did last time, because this time I'm not gonna let them stack up like I did. Uh, but in terms of DC comics, I read World's Finest number 42, Batman and Robin Year 1 number 10, Absolute Flash number 6, Nightwing numbers 24 and or 124 and 125, The New Gods number 9, Justice League Red number 1. I'm close to finishing up Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, Kyle Lantern Green Rayner. No,
Nice.
Green Lantern Kyle Rayner. Finished close to finishing up that volume of his collection of all of his stories from the 90s. I'll be happy to be done with that, not because I don't like it, but just because I need to get that out of my backlog. And lastly, the two best Absolute comics that I'm excited to get to eventually is Absolute Wonder Woman number 11, Absolute Martian Manhunter number 6. Next we're going to do Absolute Batman, and then I don't think we're going to hop in Absolute Wonder Woman immediately. I think we're going to do a Superman comic after that, but after that, we're going to do Absolute Wonder Woman. I'm excited to get there and reread those first 6 issues, because Absolute Wonder Woman is awesome, and I'm excited for you guys to finally read a Wonder Woman focused story. But moving on to a bit of news. Like we don't tend to have news in this section of the podcast. We kind of just go over what we've been reading and then jump straight into the book club. But I want to talk about canceled comics and how they can potentially be prevented. So recently, on my Twitter is full of comic nerds and people talking about comics. And recently, the current Green Arrow and Birds of Prey runs got canceled, unfortunately, and it's because they weren't selling very well. And the Birds of Prey comics by Kelly Thompson, who's also the writer of Absolute Wonder Woman, and it's been great. And Green Arrow has easily been like one of the best comics coming out of DC right now. Very unfortunate that they got canceled because they just weren't performing very well. Scott Snyder, who is like the arbiter of the Absolute universe, kind of gave his 2 cents about why that was happening, and Kelly Thompson also pretty much confirmed. They both said like, yeah, it's low sales. So then you got to ask, why are the sales of these incredible books so low? And I think it's 3 major issues: cost, accessibility, and advertisement. Starting with cost. Individual issues, which is a single chapter of a comic book, usually around like 26 pages or less, sometimes more, are $5 a pop. Meaning that you'll be paying dozens of dollars if you are the type of person to collect every single comic coming out every month. Which, of course, most people don't, because, either they're not into all of the comics coming out, or they just can't afford that, because that's ridiculous. No one has that kind of money. That's why I read DC Comics specifically digitally, and I only buy landmark issues or like the first issues of runs that I am excited for. Instead I read them through the app because it's cheaper to subscribe and be a month behind on all the comics, but still be able to, keep up relatively. And, we're about to start doing that, for the book club. So it's cheaper for you guys to keep reading these instead of having to subscribe to Kindle. And, I only buy 3 Marvel books a month, meaning I only spend $15 plus tax on that every month. So that's why I buy those physically, because I don't read as much Marvel, especially. I just don't read as much Marvel, so I feel more comfortable buying those physically. And, when it comes to accessibility, individual issues can also only be found at comic book shops or through comic websites. And comic book shops are a dying breed. So access has decreased worldwide, outside of, reading them digitally. And lastly, when it comes to advertisement, despite the unprecedented success of comic book movies, even though that's started to wane recently, even when it was at its height, they did not use that success to advertise the comics, especially Marvel. Even though DC's better about it now and have been better about it than Marvel, they almost ignore the comics, pretend like the comics don't exist, and just continue to steal from them, and sometimes bastardize the source material, and all of it without paying the original artists and writers a dime. And it's ridiculous. Nowadays, James Gunn is much more transparent, and like always, he is pulling in a lot of writers, comic book writers, to work on these movies and shows and paying them, and also giving them credit where credit's due, and encouraging people to read the comics, which is great. And I hope that they lean into that more. Even before James Gunn took over, the last three movies that came out before he took over of the last DC universe, Black Adam, Aquaman, and then The Flash, even though all three of those movies were horrible, um, what they did in the trailers, at the end of the trailers, they would show you these. They would be like, "Here's three comics from these characters you should read." And I was like, "That's awesome! Do that all the time. Marvel should do that too." At the end of the trailers that everybody's watching, tell them to go, "Hey, go read the comics. Go subscribe to DC Universe Infinite. Go subscribe to Marvel Unlimited. Go read these comics. Go to a comic shop. Go to a bookstore. Read these comics." And there's a lot of places where American comics can learn from their Japanese counterparts and even their past selves, because comics used to be sold in grocery stores and they used to cost less than $1. And that's not realistic in today's economy, so I'm not expecting it to be that cheap. But back in the day, they also used to be printed on cheaper material that was more like newspaper print, so they could afford to cost less. And I don't necessarily think that individual issues should start printing cheaper and costing less to sell more. Instead, I think that DC and Marvel needs to start selling a weekly magazine that collects every comic coming out that week, and is printed, and
Oh, like
that
Shonen Jump.
like Shonen Jump, and that is printed on a cheaper material because that's how Shonen Jump does it. In addition to also continue to sell those $5 single issues for the people who like that, for the people who enjoy that, you still have that. But then for the people who can't afford that but still want to be able to read these comics, they get the weekly magazine. That I would suggest to have it cost no more than $10. The Shonen Jump weekly issue costs $7.29 USD. But they're not going to have to be that cheap. So $10 at least. Like, if you guys could go to a comic shop or a bookstore, pick up a issue that had every DC comic that came out that week for $10, would you not do it? As you're starting to get into comics, like, you'd be like, "Oh, there's like multiple comics in there. There's maybe one that I'm interested in, but I'll probably check out the others, and you might find something else that you like." And
then like,
go ahead.
yeah, like Shonen Jump and like the Shonen Jump kind of style of collecting all like the comics that came out or the manga that came out like in whatever time period they like do. That's what got me into reading manga in the first place, because the people that I knew that liked anime were not buying single volumes of manga. They were buying Shonen Jump.
Yeah, like,
So
single issues for American comics made sense back in the day when they were cheaper and you could find them anywhere. But you can't find them anywhere anymore, and they cost too much. And volumes. You can't find single issues of comic books in like Barnes and Noble, but you can find volumes. You can find omnibuses. You can find big collections of multiple chapters. And they need to prioritize that. And yeah, just having multiple comics collected in one book. I think they need to prioritize that instead of continuing to sell single issues, because that's just not a viable strategy anymore with the cost that they are. If they wanted to, they could start making them cheaper and printing them on cheaper material and putting them everywhere. I also wouldn't be mad at that, because a lot of those sales did come from kids being in the market with their parents, and there being a stack of comic books with all the magazines at the checkout line. And they see it and it costs less than $1, and I go, "Yeah, sure, you can have a Superman comic. That's whatever." And you
I
read.
remember those days. I had
But
like a Mega Man comic and everything.
like, imagine if
I
you
did.
had this $10 Shonen Jump just on a shelf in the supermarket, and the parents saw it and was like, "Oh, it's $10 and it has Batman and Superman." And the kids like, "Can I have that?" And I'm like, "Sure." Like, and they come out every week, so like once a month maybe, you go to the market, just get a $10 comic. Or if they were starting to do the cheaper single issues, maybe like $2 comic. It's like, come on DC and Marvel. There are ways to get people into comics. I just don't feel like they're trying hard enough.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then
Like,
sorry, go ahead.
oh, go on. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that honestly, I don't be seeing any like advertising for comics. Like, I
None.
always find out about new comics only secondhand because people manage to find them and then like post it on like Instagram Reels or like on YouTube, and that's how I like find out.
They
Like,
do
I
not
don't know where to
advertise
go to like
comics.
look for comics.
They don't advertise comics or where you can get them. It's insane. Like the only way
Like,
to
I'm
get into
surprised you knew
comics,
these comics existed in general. Because I'm like, where is he getting this knowledge from?
yeah, the only way to get into comics is to either know people who are into comics, and that's insane. It's ridiculous, despite the fact that these movies have been making billions for
Hmm.
for almost 2 decades. This is insane that they just don't advertise the source material that they to this day continue to pull from. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Well, it's not called that anymore. It's just called Supergirl. Comes out next year. They're still filming, I think. And it's based off a book that came out in like 2019. Or no, it was like 2020 or something like that. Like during pandemic. Like, come on now. This is ridiculous. They're still actively pulling from comics that are being written yesterday. It's insane.
Hmm.
Mm.
But they refuse to give credit, pay people, or encourage people to support the medium that is feeding them. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And the kind of like secret fourth issue that I think American comic book industry might have is that they're not properly probably collecting data from the apps. But I don't have any proper evidence for that. I can only speak from what I've heard from other people online. But it seems like they're not counting a lot of the digital sales or the people reading them on their websites, the Marvel and DC websites and apps, which is weird. That should count to whether or not a comic is popular and you should keep having it made. I was initially going to complain about the DC Universe Infinite subscription model, but I realized that it was better than I thought. As I was like making the account for us, because maybe this was a change. I remember this not being an option when I first subscribed, but ultimately it also didn't matter for me, which is that I thought that the option, the Ultra subscription option, where you can read ongoing comics, but a month behind because they want to encourage you to buy physically if you can. I thought that was gated behind the yearly subscription, but it's not. It costs that's the like second tier, and it costs $12 a month. And I was like, oh, I thought that was gated behind the yearly subscription, but it's not. So that's good. Still maybe a bit could be a bit cheaper, but at least it's not gated behind a yearly subscription, and you can get that a month, every month, and then a month that you just aren't reading comics, you're not subscribed. So I do like the websites, and they do give free comics every now and again. I think they could do it a bit more often. Like I don't think they should necessarily do the Shonen Jump model where the latest 3 issues are always free, so you can keep up for free because at the end of the day they gotta make money. But they could have the first issue of ongoing stories be free, so that you read that first issue, maybe even the first couple. You read those 2 issues and you go, oh wait, this is cool. I'm gonna subscribe so I can keep reading it, or I'm gonna go buy the volume from a bookstore or order it online. Like, I think they do need to make more like older comics and like the beginning of current comics, free to check out, and try and entice people to then subscribe or buy comics. Like I said, like you said, they don't do a good job of just advertising it, and that sucks. We have to do it for them. We have to be the ones out talking about it, and that's stupid.
Right.
That's so stupid. Why are we doing this for them? And we're doing it for them because we want it. We want these good stories. We like comic books. But god damn it,
Right.
you should also be doing it yourself.
Where's our sponsor, Disney? Huh?
Just
But yeah. Any other thoughts about that before we move on?
that was pretty straightforward. Like, please advertise. I want to know about comics coming out and like, who's behind them and whatnot. I want to be in the loop of knowing when they come out and knowing what's being created.
Yeah. It's also their social, I feel like social media would also be great to do. Like if I could become a social media manager for DC or Marvel, I'd be like, I'm changing everything for like the comics specifically. We need to have every month at the beginning of the month, we need to release a calendar about which comics are coming out when. Like I would be like, bro, we need to be telling people about when these comics are coming out, where they can get them, how much they cost. Like, why are we being weird? Let people know.
It's like they're gatekeeping, but not gatekeeping,
People want these
Right.
comics, but you're not telling them about them. Like I guarantee that what is being advertised? Goddamn manga,
Yeah.
goddamn anime. You see those
I can
ads.
add for Jujutsu Kaisen, like it's not A, over, and B, like one of the most popular manga on the planet right now.
Exactly.
You know who else be advertising? Goddamn manhwa. And goddamn Koreans be advertising.
True.
Yeah, yeah.
True.
Like, come on now. Even
They be some
I,
random shit too.
Right?
even I don't get a lot of like ads for Marvel Unlimited and DC Infinite Universe Online. Well, I said DC Universe Online. It's a video game. DC Universe Infinite.
That would go crazy though.
I mean, that already exists.
Oh well, yeah.
It's a
Oh.
what's a MMO.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's wild. But moving on to the book club. Um, getting back into Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow with issues number 3 and 4. Written by Tom King with pencils and inks by Bilicus Evely, colors by Matthias Lopez, letters by Clayton Cowles, cover by Evely and Lopez, and edited by Brittany Holzer and Bixie Matthew. A synopsis of issues 3 and 4. In issue number 3, Supergirl's journey across the cosmos continues. Her hunt to bring the killer Krim to justice brings her and the young alien and her care to a small planet, where they discover that there are still some very small minds, even on the outer edges of the galaxy. The cold welcome the locals give the Woman of Steel makes her suspicious enough to go looking for secrets they want to keep buried. And what she finds is nothing short of horrifying. Can she and Ruthie get off the planet alive now that these deadly sins have been exposed? In issue number 4, Supergirl sets her sights on the Brigands, a group of dastardly nomads hell-bent on slaughtering all they come across. Now she must follow their path of destruction to find the fugitive they've been hiding who set her on this intergalactic journey in the first place. All right, so as usual, starting with the art. In issue 3, there is a beautiful page of silhouetted buildings under a night sky that I found particularly beautiful with its blue, purples, and greens in the coloring. And I love the way that Evely draws clouds specifically. And I also like the way that Lopez layers and blends colors and adds this texture on top of it that I can't really pinpoint exactly what it is. It's just great. I love it. The art's so good in this. There's also another beautiful cloud-filled page of a monastery on a mountain, with clouds, or it's bursting above the clouds, and it's breathtaking. I put those in the Discord if you guys want to check it out. Just scroll up in the comic section. I have those in there. It's so good. But you also read it, so as I describe it, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the art's so good. Any highlights from you guys from this comic in terms of art specifically?
I liked the amount of cooler colors that we got in issues 3 and 4, especially with the whole thing between the purples and the blues, and then the kind of very jarring, very radiant yellow of the sun in contrast to that. In a lot of moments, I thought that was really, really good color work. It was I don't know. It kind of it gave me chills a little bit to look at, even before reading the dialogue. I don't know. It was just real good.
I was gonna touch on the same thing, like how it's like a bunch of cool blues and like gentle colors, and then just like some bright oranges and reds thrown your way.
Mhm.
Like there's one that I put in about Krim like being in jail and is causing so much chaos to like the purples. I mean the blues. Was it the purples? Yes, the purples. And the way that the color works is like I can tell everything that's like going on. Like nothing's muddled together, and I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Just clearly this person really studied their color theory. Matthias
I need to
Lopez.
see their secrets. Like where are
Yeah.
they studying from?
It's like, yeah, you teaching classes, Matthias? What's going
Exactly. I'd pay.
Right.
I'd pay good money.
on?
Mhm.
But yeah, in terms of the story of these 2 issues, I read this after the Poppy War, so I was just like, really? More genocide? I can't.
Yeah,
Cr-
yeah.
crazy
Well,
work,
before that,
crazy work. But at the same time, it's like the people experiencing this in real life don't get a goddamn break. So I guess I shouldn't either. These issues had a very similar effect as the end of the Poppy War had on me, of reminding me of the injustices going on in the real world. the real world genocides it's happening in Palestine and Congo. And because issue 3, this is the first issue where Supergirl and Ruthie come across Barbon's brigands as they continue, to go around murdering people. And this one hits especially hard because there's a clear allegory of segregation. And lately I've been very fearful of like segregation rearing its head again with the way the world is right
Yeah.
now. I was like, man, the world's scary right now. Why you remind me of this? I just want to read a comic book. Um, well, like I said earlier with the Poppy War, art is very important for that sometimes. The people of this planet in issue number 3 have two skin colors, blue and purple. And the blues thought themselves superior and discriminated against the purples, forcing them out of their town of Maypole and into a slum they called Purple Town. And when the brigands came to Maypole to restock and refuel, via pillaging, of course, the blue people sold the purples out to save their skin, no pun intended, at the suggestion of Krim, who was in jail for drunken, disorderly conduct. And Krim then hit it off with the leader of the brigands and joined their crew. And then, contributed in the massacre of the purples, like Bree said. And yeah, what do you guys think of issue number 3?
Oh, Krim is pissing
Man.
me off, man. Like, I knew this comic was going to get dark, but I didn't think it was going to get this dark.
Yeah, like I was expecting, some like, for this to, especially given who Krem is and like his whole modus operandi of like, I don't care about anyone else but myself. But I was not expecting it to like teeter into like genocidal space super race territory, and like just seeing the impact of that destruction over and over and over again, and how Supergirl is too late over and over and over again. It was just like it was bleak. Okay.
Like, it's perfect symbolism of like what's going on now, like how you feel so helpless, like you think you're there in time, like you're doing your best, and it's like nothing's just working. And I'm like, ah, please stop. This is hurting
Right.
me.
Yeah,
But Krim is just chaos incarnate. Like, how do you get on a flying device that you have no idea about, don't know anything about space? You go to another planet and then you just cause more chaos.
exactly.
Right.
He's
Like
he's he's so good at being a bad person that he can just do it no matter the situation. He's
He
just
can just do it anywhere he wants. Like, it doesn't make any sense of this Krim, please. How have they not killed you yet?
insane.
very insane.
And in issue number 4, we continue, to see the brigand and Krim's trail of destruction, in very rapid fire. And Supergirl and Ruthie travel from planet to planet chasing Krim. And there's a moment of kindness we see from Supergirl that really kind of just shows the type of person she is, where she's she helps a survivor of the aftermath bury bodies. The duo comes across a man attempting to bury hundreds of people before sunrise in search of his daughter's corpse, and Supergirl asks to help, which he refuses, saying it's his duty alone. And Supergirl responds with, "We all have our duties, and it's mine as a neighbor to do what I can to help you with yours." Then she proceeds to super speedily bury the bodies and use her X-ray vision to view his DNA and find his daughter's body, which is a very fun, just the Kryptonians just have ridiculous powers moment and can
Yeah.
do anything. But a moment of kindness from Supergirl in this very dark situation. But then we see the flip side of that, where in that same issue, uh, one of the brigands is caught and is being stoned to death by the citizens of a planet that his crew attacked. And Ruthie says to Supergirl, "I thought you would save him." And Supergirl says, "Did you?" And proceeds to watch. This comes moments after we see several atrocities in rapid fire, like I said. And we see that moment that you guys referred to, where we go from um, that beautiful monastery moment to her flying off planet because she's upset and she wants to scream, but her scream would destroy everything. So she flies into a sun and yells. And like, yeah, she's this is a moment that really shows a potential difference between Supergirl and Superman, because I can't say for certain whether or not Superman would do that, whether or not he would watch. I feel like he would have stepped in and be like, just put him in jail. But Supergirl's
For
like, nah,
sure.
let that man
Yeah.
die.
That's right, because the atrocities she's seen when she went to that one place where they're able to like document all the atrocities that happened, and she saw everything. I'm like, I would let that man get stoned too. There's
Yeah,
no
Yeah.
way I'm stepping in. Like that kind of shook me though, where she was just like, "Oh, you did think I'd save him?" And like the silence that followed after, I was like, "Well,
yeah.
It's
it
very
is what it
telling.
is, I guess."
And then also like her Supergirl's relationship with Ruthie is really like I know like logically that Ruthie makes it to the end because she's narrating it, but I am so scared that they're going to kill this little girl in some capacity, just for the tragedy of it all.
But
Because
you don't necessarily
based on
know like what her
Mhm.
like state of mind or body is in. Anything could have happened. You
Right?
assume she's alive based on the narration, but you don't know anything else about her well being other than that.
Deshaun, don't do this to me. don't listen. I came into this expecting like not a fun comic romp, but it was gonna be like interesting. But now that like genocidal maniacs are on the table, I'm scared to read the rest of this. If something happens to that little girl, I'm never reading a comic again. I hope you know this.
I didn't even think about that. That's crazy. Please let her like be okay because like talking about that reminds me of the scene of the guy talking about his friend like being murdered by Krem and then like him actively also being murdered, but like he
Oh yeah.
survived and he's just like, "Oh
I'm
yeah,
glad you
it
remember that
happened."
because that wasn't in my notes.
Yeah.
That was definitely a very poignant moment of just this dude who survived this horrible situation. Being like, yeah, my best friend got murdered by Crib in front of me, and he hacked his limbs off. The dude that survived. And I was like, oh my god, Crib sucks. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that scene made me ill.
we need
Ruthie
to.
needs to get her revenge.
I'm
That's
saying we
what
need
I'm
to
like
saying.
turn.
like Supergirl
The,
probably won't go out of her way to kill him, but she probably won't stop Ruthie.
At this point, please don't stop her. Something needs to be done. You cannot put this man in jail. He was already in jail and he got out.
we need to grind Krem up into like dog food and then can him. I fear
Feed him the
that
crypto.
bad. Feed him the crypto.
Because
Poetic
that's
justice.
the whole point of this mission. They're gonna go get the poison from Krem to save Crypto, who's still dying. Don't forget about Crypto.
Yeah, who's still actively dying?
Literally
Yeah.
dying. Like,
But yeah,
ooh,
uh, but in that moment where Supergirl is flying to the sun to scream, Ruthie hypothesizes. I said that right, right? Yeah. Ruthie hypothesizes that Supergirl, unlike Superman, has a much harder time choosing not to use her powers because she's suppressing the anger, frustration, and sadness welling inside of her due to her planet's destruction. And I thought there was a very interesting thought on Ruthie's part. And
mm-hmm.
like you said, the relationship between Ruthie and Supergirl is very interesting. In these last two issues, Ruthie, the narrator herself, um, the issue 4 ends with Supergirl finally like essentially stopping treating her like a child as they hunt down Krem, because they're going through seeing all these horrible things, and Ruthie is I seen what he can do. I want to kill this man. Stop trying to hide these things from me. And she asked Supergirl, how old were you when you first saw Terror? And then that's when Supergirl relents and it's like, okay, and they fly off, and that's the end of issue 4. And I thought that was a very interesting arc for Ruthie or Ruthie and Supergirl's relationship of just Ruthie's a child, she's like early teens it seems, and Supergirl doesn't want her to really view what's happening, and she only had her there because she wanted to. She didn't recognize, she didn't know what Krem or remember what Krem looks like, but now she does. She's seen pictures of him, so she doesn't necessarily need Ruthie anymore, but she's deciding to keep bringing her along, because she kind of just, I feel like at this point after everything she's seen, believes in Ruthie's vengeance as justice.
Mm-hmm.
I think not only that, but also if Ruthie were to just go home after everything they've seen and that she's been through, and then like knowing that she's still after Krem, it would just be on my mind. Like if I was Ruthie, I'm just
Yeah.
like, is he causing more carnage? Like, did she get him? Did she actually like stop him? Is he dead? Or like, what's going on here? Like I have to be there to see it through. Like I can't just stop.
And the fact that her world would keep turning like as if nothing had ever happened, like I don't think I wouldn't be able to live with that. So I know for a fact that Ruthie wouldn't be able to either.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I have in terms of notes for these last two issues. Anything you guys wanted to point out?
These last two were just sad. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
and,
Like
read
I
them
don't
and
know
I
where to
feel
go from
like
there.
and we're only halfway
yeah,
through.
Right?
I
Only
feel
halfway.
We still got
that's
two
crazy.
two more episodes worth of comics to read.
When
Oh
I thought this was
Lord.
gonna be a silly adventure, I thought it was just gonna be a silly adventure, not whatever this is going on. I mean, I'm happy that this is happening because, like, I never knew Supergirl went through something like this. There's
Right.
only so much that I know about her character, but
They'll
like this is like a jarring step into like identifying her character and knowing her lore
yeah,
For sure.
they'll dive deeper into her backstory later on, so you actually can get specific
deeper.
details because you know about you know about her backstory because it relates directly to Superman's, and everybody knows Superman's backstory. But they'll
Yeah, but like this is her as like her own person, you know?
yeah, but now they'll
Mm-hmm.
actually and eventually in this book they'll actually give you details. And a lot of like details that haven't been in other stories that chronicled her backstory that I thought was really fun when I first read it.